We watching from Backup State negative comment says
Ranking every Call of Duty Zombies map. Yes, I did this once a few
Ranking
months
zombies
ago, but in
map.
that video I set a goal for myself to make that video less than 5 minutes long. Also, my opinions have changed a little bit over time. Today I'm going to be going into much more detail. This list is Treyarch only, and I will not be including any remastered maps, but I will include the Black Ops 4 Ether maps except for Classified, because I feel like they are different enough to the original. Town and Nuketown are on the list, but not the other Black Ops 2 survival maps. Die Rise. Hiding behind the myth of
damn, why is I tried to easy, man? It's finished.
verticality, this map plays more like an elevator simulator than a zombies map. Literally the only thing that makes Die Rise worth playing is its wonder weapon, the Sliquifier. You would think that a map set in such a unique location wouldn't be one of the most dull and undersaturated zombies maps in history. Die Rise was home to some of the best wall weapons, but unfortunately this led to the mystery box being entirely obsolete. Once you build the Sliquifier and Trample Steam, neither of which are particularly riveting to build, there's pretty much nothing left to do other than to ask yourself why you even decided to load up Die Rise in the first place. Transit. The older brother of Die Rise, Transit introduces buildables and a vehicle transportation system, but does it in the most tedious way possible. The 5 different main areas are spread so far apart, which means that most of your time playing this map will be spent traveling. Now, when playing Transit, there's 3 different ways to get from point A to point B, all of which will leave you hating your life. Whether it's spending time waiting for the bus to arrive, preying on perfect teleporter RNG, or traveling by foot while dealing with insufferable fog and denizens, there is no hope at having a fun time while traversing this extremely large zombies map. Every single buildable is hysterically bad, including the map's wonder weapon, the jet gun. On top of this, the Transit Easter egg, along with the other Victus maps, can only be completed with 4 players, only adding to the insufferable nature of this god-awful zombies map. Der Anfang. While Transit and Die Rise sort of have a so bad it's good type quality, Der Anfang is just plain bad. The repetitive nature of being forced to complete the same handful of objectives over and over again gets boring way quicker than I think the developer. There's a million things that went wrong with the launch of Vanguard Zombies. All can pretty much be summarized with community general consensus that the mode was rushed. From the core gameplay to the lack of the little things, Der Anfang missed the mark on every front. You literally cannot convince me that it's okay to launch a game without a pause button or a pack-a-punch camo, or in a state where the gun muzzle flash and smoke is so much that you can't even see what you're shooting at. But the biggest flaw by far in what we have with Vanguard Zombies is just a pure lack of content. There's pretty much no reason to go back and play more. There's no wonder weapon, there's no Easter egg, there's no progression whatsoever outside of grinding for camos. Der Anfang is a complete and utter disaster, and I don't think it's possible to recover from the launch of Vanguard Zombies. Alpha Omega. Alpha Omega offers nothing new to the franchise, and is probably the most forgettable map in Zombies history. A remake of the Black Ops 2 survival map Nuketown is something that I don't think anybody was asking for. And if it was going to happen, I don't think it could have been done in a more uninspired way. Alpha Omega came out towards the end of the Black Ops 4 cycle, long after most people had already quit playing the game, and by all means, this was not the map to bring people back. Nuketown. Nuketown is one of the more unique survival maps that we've ever had, but at the end of the day, it's too bare bones to rank any higher on the list. I can't really point out too many obvious flaws with the map, but there's also really nothing that stands out as being particularly exciting. Nuketown released at the same time of all of the Green Run survival maps, and personally I've always viewed Town as being the far superior launch Black Ops 2 survival map. A lot of people tend to dislike how random the perks are, but I mean personally, I've always kind of liked the fact that you never know which perk you're going to get when. It only adds a little bit to the replayability of the map. The main thing for me that holds Nuketown back from being at the same standard as some of the other smaller maps is the layout. While some would argue that Nuketown's layout creates for a fun, challenging experience, I've always thought the layout of Nuketown was fine for multiplayer, but map always felt more like a gimmick in Zombies than an actual
Oh,
map.
multiple zombies.
As someone who loves complicated Easter egg quests, even I acknowledge that Blood of the Dead takes it way too far. Blood of the Dead did its job at being an expansion of the classic map Mob the Dead, and Treyarch really was able to turn it into its own experience, and nothing about Blood feels like Mob, which is a good thing. But the actual problem with the map here lies with a lot of the design choices for Blood itself. If you want to see me talk about Blood of the Dead in length, I actually made an entire 20+ minute video that will be in the description.
Wait, Mob the Dead, same thing. Okay, they're the same.
Dude, the map that started it all doesn't have enough to keep you entertained for more than a couple playthroughs. Although it's always hard putting the first of anything this far down in a listicle. If Treyarch never would have took this risk on a little side project, then we would have never had the mode that we know and love today. And that little side project, it all started right here on Nocturne and Toten. The problem is, the first Zombies map isn't all that replayable, especially going back now to play it. I like a good bare-bones survival map every once in a while.
لاتيه وشوكولاتة كادبوري.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I understand. Never mind.
But there's no doubting that Noct is just way too bare bones for most people. We've seen Noct make a reappearance in every single Treyarch Zombies game, none of which could ever top the original in World of War, Shino Numa.
Shino Numa is
far
fine.
down on the list because it personally, for me, never really stood out in comparison to the rest of the World of War maps. Shino Numa was the true birth of the Call of Duty zombie story, but gameplay-wise, Shino Numa didn't really add too much, other than the first non-zombie enemy, the Hellhound. I would say that Shino Numa had the first formulaic map layout, a central area with 4 wings branching out from it. This exact map layout would come back time and time again in some of the most iconic maps in the series, some notable being 9 and Shadow of the Evil. The World of War version of Shino Numa is hard to play for me because it's both held back and made better by game-changing glitches. Overall, I would say that Shino Numa is an acquired taste, and personally I tend to prefer some of the other World of War maps a little bit more than this one. 5. You can tell by the layout of the map that 5 is just reused assets from the Black Ops 1 campaign. Still a classic map though. The layout of 5 to me feels like the early World of War maps in the sense that it doesn't quite feel like it belongs in Zombies. The entire map is filled with cramped corridors, making it pretty much impossible to play consistently. I always thought it was really funny that Black Ops 1 launched with 2 maps, one Wonder Weapon on each. Of course, Keynote or Toten had what is probably the most iconic Wonder Weapon of all time in the Thunder Gun, and 5, well, it did not. The Winter's How is pretty hysterically bad, only adding to the difficult nature of the map 5. 5, however, was the first time Treyarch ever gave us characters separate from our original 4, allowing us to play as none other than JFK, Robert McNamara, Fidel Castro, and Richard Nixon. The idea of putting a Zombies map on the moon sounds great on paper, but in actual execution, it is a dumpster fire. Moon just has way too many annoying features like the astronaut, box RNG, and waiting on excavators for me to rank it. The whole playing zombies in a spacesuit thing gets very old very quickly. As soon as you put the PES, it becomes pretty much impossible to hear anything, and when you're in the outside areas, you pretty much lose all sense of precise movement, which for me doesn't really make for a fun experience. No Man's Land was a very good idea, and I wish they would have brought some aspects of it back more over the years. It's also impossible to talk about Moon without mentioning the story that went down here. Moon feels like the turning point from when the Call of Duty Zombie story went from a relatively simple storyline following our main 4 characters and a few others to this giant, exceptionally complicated narrative that it became pretty much impossible for the average Zombies fan to follow along. Some people view this as a good thing, and some view it as a bad thing. It just depends on who you ask. Voyage of Despair. Voyage always gets lumped in with Blood of the Dead, but I don't think it's half as tedious, and the Titanic setting is just way too fun to put it any lower. I've spent a decent amount of time defending Voyage of Despair, saying that it's better than the other maps that traditionally get lumped at the very bottom. At the end of the day, though, it's not like I'm saying it's a top 10 or even a top 20 map, but there's definitely a lot of fun to be had had on the Black Ops 4 Zombies version of the Titanic. A very distinctive, enjoyable Easter egg that culminates in one of the best boss fights we've ever had. An interesting but admittedly mid-tier weapon, and an aesthetic and setting that's so over the top that you can't help but love it. Voyage was mainly held back by a few things. The overwhelming variety of different zombie types can only serve to annoy you and cause for what feel like unwarranted downs. A slightly confusing map layout with several fast travels that are a little unintuitive, and mainly, the main thing holding back all of Black Ops 4 Zombies, the engine itself, Ascension. Ascension added two of the most iconic
Wait, Ascension, like Black Ops 1, Black Ops the same thing.
in Zombies history, the actual gameplay of the map is very repetitive. Ascension aged like sour milk, and most people in the Zombies community won't deny that. There was a time where Ascension was considered by many to be the best Zombies map ever made, but times have changed. There's not a ton to do on the map, and even the worst Zombies player can hop onto Ascension and get to any round they desire. For me, there's just not enough replayability to make you want to go back and play this classic Black Ops 1 map. It did serve its purpose for the time that it came out. If you're someone who can still have fun by hopping on Ascension and running trains on the lunar pad with a thunder gun, by all means, you keep doing you and we can agree to disagree. But I'd personally rather actually have things to do when I'm playing a video game. Firebase Z. Firebase Z's layout is solid, but atmosphere-wise, it is very drab and boring. If you can get over the fact that Firebase Z setting might be the single most boring possible place for a zombies map, then maybe you view this map a little differently. The Ray K is a fun variant to the traditional ray gun, and yes, it functions very similarly to the Grod Krovi Mark III, but it feels just different enough to separate itself, and it adds a lot to the experience of the map. The Easter egg is good, other than the obvious mimic step. It still gives me nightmares to this day. It ends with the Orda boss, which is almost comically easy. I would say that Firebase Z suffers from the Cold War problem, that it feels like the only reason to go back and play it is to just grind for camos, which to me is an indicator that the map itself is just not up to the same standards as those higher on the list. Forsaken brought us a crazy ending to Cold War Zombies, a fantastically OP wonder weapon, very fun and interesting side quests, but its bad map layout and a lack of main quests prevents me from putting it any higher on the list. The Forsaken map layout to me feels hilariously lazy. It's like they took a few different areas from the Cold War campaign, reskinned them a little, and then duct taped them together using teleporters. This created a map that feels like a jumbled mess. Another Zombies map that uses a similar formula is Revelation, where it's different areas forced together with teleporters and jump pads. But it actually makes sense on a map like Rev. The point of that map was quite literally to force a bunch of classic Zombies maps together that weren't originally supposed to go together and make something new. But when it happens on Forsaken, it just feels lazy. I do like the aspect of No Man's Land and the spawn room, and like I said, the side Easter eggs do their part in carrying this otherwise subpar Zombies map. D-Machine. D-Machine is a solid introduction to the Cold War system, but the whole Nazi research facility thing has been so played out by this point. I feel like a lot of the community look at D-Machine in a positive light. It was our first taste of zombies on this new Cold War engine. Unfortunately, the map doesn't really hold up by itself. I wish the whole Dark Ether aspect of D-Machine played a bigger role gameplay-wise, not only on this map, but on the later Cold War maps, because it actually did a really good job of turning an otherwise bland military base into something that looked and felt more fantastical. Unfortunately, most of the positive and negative things that I could say about D-Machine, I could say about Cold War Zombies as a whole. I think we'll look back at the Zombies map as being the Ascension or the Keynote or Totem of Cold War. Verrückt. The map that introduced Kurtz, Howard, and Trapped Zombies was very atmosphere-focused and is honestly the most frightening Zombies experience we've ever had. Maybe it's just me, but I've definitely played a lot more Verrückt in my life than any other World at War map. It's become one of my go-tos when I just want to sit back and play a small little survival map. Verrückt is hard. There's no clear strategy to get to a high round, and I can't think of another survival map like that. I always thought it was really funny that they added added the winner's howl to this map in the Black Ops 1 version, it's like they were just adding insult to injury. All of the little additions like perks and power have just come to be expected on every single Zombies map to follow, making Verrückt one of the most important zombie maps in history. Zetsubo no Shima. When Zetsubo no Shima first came out, it was probably my favorite Black Ops 3 zombie map. There's something about the creepy swamp aesthetic and the exceptionally fun wonder weapon that make it so great for me. Obviously, my opinion has changed a little over the years, mainly due to the plant and water system, which is just an absolute nightmare to try to remember which water does what. If the plant system wasn't so required to do literally any basic task, like completing challenges, acquiring the wonder weapon, the artillery bullet, and several other times during the Easter egg, then it probably would have been less of a big deal. I just wish that there was kind of a way to go back in time and have Treyarch rework the plant system to be something a lot more intuitive and less tedious. Some notable highlights of this map are the KT-4 wonder weapon, a close relative to the iconic Die Rise gun, the Sliquifier, the Skull of Non-Stopway, and the two separate boss fights, one of which being a horrifying fight against a giant spider, explaining the origin of Widow's Wine. All in all, Zetsubo no Shima is a really good map, and it really does speak volumes that Black Ops 3's lowest rated map can be rated so highly. Town Survival was the saving grace of Black Ops 2 for its first 6 months of release, and it's still one of the best bare-bones zombie maps that we've ever had. I've always wondered if Town Survival was as good as it was in my memory, or if it was the benefactory of a map that came out at the right place at the right time. I mean, after all, the Zombies community was in desperate need for new content, and everyone's hopes were so high for Transit, and it goes without saying that map just completely flopped. So what was there left to do for Zombies fans? Some forced theories of a second bus route, desperately trying to cope with the failure of Transit. Some went back to the older games, but most just laid back and played the Green Run survival maps with friends, Town of course being the most iconic. Recently going back and playing Town, I realized that it wasn't just this right place, right time map. Town really is an almost perfect survival map. It has perks, pack-a-punch, 2 mystery box locations, which is just about everything you need to sit back, relax, and shoot some zombies. It's the perfect size for a survival map, in my opinion. Not too big and not too small. My only question is, I wonder what Town Survival would have been like without the lava. Kino Toten. Kino Toten was a lot of players' first map, and it's impossible to not be swooped off your feet by nostalgia for this iconic map. However, it is important to not be blinded by it. The iconic Black Ops 1 theater map didn't really add a whole lot to zombies. Up until this point in the series, it felt like every single map took what was great about the previous one and added something to make it even better. Kano didn't really do that to Darius. The same 4 perks, and Mule Kick was added later, so that doesn't count, and the same pack-a-punch system. The new wonder weapon, the Thunder Gun, was exceptional, but it only served as a replacement to the Wonder Wap. The only thing that Kano really added to zombies were Nova Crawlers, not exactly awe-inspiring by any means. I view Kano in a very similar way to how I view D Machine. It put zombies on a new game, fixing the obvious drawbacks of the previous title, and introduced the mode to a vast new audience. However, when looking at these maps in a vacuum, it's hard to see what actually makes them special, outside of just being at the right place, right time. Call of the Dead. Call of the Dead broke the formula of the early Black Ops 1 maps and gave us some unique wonder weapons, making it one of the most out there zombies maps of all time. The map was the first ever to feature a celebrity cast, making for an extremely memorable experience. This map introduced both PhD Flopper and Deadshot Daiquiri, 2 perks that have made countless appearances ever since. The first of the 2 wonder weapons, the VR-11, is admittedly useless, but it's still an interesting concept that's impossible to forget about. The second, of course, is the Scavenger, which if it only actually killed zombies past the mid-30s, would probably be considered one of the best wonder weapons. The Easter egg on this map is the first fetch-style quest, and although it's very simple, I feel like if you've done it once, you can probably remember all of the steps. It's just that iconic. I do wish that there was maybe a few more steps and just a little bit more to do on this map. Shangri-La. Shangri-La was absolutely hated at launch, but has aged very well. For a map as small as it is, there is a ton of fun to be had and fun things to do, especially considering when it came out. Shangri-La is set in a beautiful location. What makes Shangri-La my favorite Black Ops 1 map is that it is by no means an easy map. This makes the thought of trying to conquer it and reach a decently high round something worth trying to do over over and over again. Its tight corridors and lack of training area force the player to be a little creative when trying to survive. Shangri-La is of course home to the baby gun, one of, if not the single most used wonder weapon in zombies history. The shrink ray gun turns all zombies in its blast radius into mini zombies that die in one hit, no matter how high of a round you're on. The Easter egg on this map showed us that Treyarch could make them a little bit more complicated, and the community would still be okay. The only major flaw that I see in the main quest on this map is of course the same for all of the older maps. The fact that you just have to have 4 players for some reason. Shangri-La is also home to one of the most over-the-top fun, although admittedly useless fast travel systems in the minecart, Revelations. The conclusion of Black Ops 3 brought us Revelations, a map that merged together a lot of the classic maps, wonder weapons, and zombie bosses, but did so in a way that feels fresh and new. Revelations answered the question that a lot of zombie players have been asking for years. What would happen if you merged together a bunch of different zombies maps into one? And it's an acquired taste, but for me, Revelations succeeded in doing just that, while simultaneously wrapping up the entire Black Ops 3 storyline in a little bow. They brought back pretty much every little fun thing from the previous maps in the series: the Thunder Gun, the Apotheosis Servant, Little Larnies, Ragnaroks, and the Guard of Fafnir, all of which were great additions to Call of Duty Zombies individually, but unfortunately, when you put them all into one map, I mean, it's obviously gonna make things just way too easy. Don't forget about all the different masks that only serve to make things even easier. Again, by themselves, the masks aren't a problem. Along with everything else, it just makes getting to a high round feel effortless, which isn't great. Revelations tries to combat this issue by providing a variety of different bosses to fight against, from panzers to margwas to spiders to parasites to keepers to furies. There's literally no shortage of bosses. Unfortunately, it's still not enough to provide a challenge for even a new zombies player. On a positive note, Revelations is a beautiful map. I don't think we've ever had a map with a skyline half as pretty as Rev. There's something about seeing all of the classic maps come together in one place that I just absolutely love, and because of this, I think at the end of the day, the positives far outweigh the negatives, making Revelations a fantastic zombies map in my eyes. 9. Just looking around the map, 9 is jaw-dropping. The map is separated into 4 quadrants, or temples, each tied to different gods. Each separate temple has its respective perk, making it almost feel like the perk system of Black Ops 4 was specifically made for this map. 9 to me is the perfect balance of simple and complex. 9 is relatively small, with a simple pack-a-punch system that anyone can figure out for themselves very quickly. The Easter egg, however, is anything but simple. 9 is always regarded as the best Black Ops 4 Zombies map, but personally I've always viewed it inferior to the Chaos maps that came later in the game. There's a variety of bosses, not all of which are fun to play against. The Catalyst and Blightfathers that haunt a lot of the Black Ops 4 maps are just plain annoying to deal with. On top of this, the Wonder Weapon, the Death of Orion, just never really did it for me. It always just feels like a worse version of the Wonder Waff, despite it actually having the potential to kill more zombies per shot. I don't know why they made it take so long to kill higher rounds. It doesn't really help the balancing in any way, and it just makes things take way too long. There is the main courtyard area that would be perfect for training zombies, but there's the whole fire aspect of this map that definitely gets annoying. And yes, I know there's a way to prevent fire damage, but still. All in all, there's a lot of things I love about 9 and a lot I hate about it. And so I feel like it's the perfect representation of Black Ops 4 as a whole. Toggertoten. Toggertoten expands on Call of the Dead in a much more inspired way than Blood did to Mob. Also, it brought the Ether story of the previous 10 years to a dramatic end. Toggertoten truly feels distinct from the rest of Black Ops 4. It feels plain and simple in comparison, in the best way possible. The Easter egg on this map is super casual, and each step flows seamlessly into the next. The quest on this map tells the ending of the Ether story in a fantastic way. And although I feel like it would have made sense to play as the main characters on the last Ether map, I personally don't hold that against Tag, because I think it worked out in the end. Toggertoten is the only Black Ops 4 remake that's actually worth playing. It turned the classic Black Ops 1 map, Call of the Dead, into something new, and I would argue even better than the original. The lack of excessive side bosses is something that Black Ops 4 Zombies was in desperate need of, and I wish that the rest of the game would have been as simple as this. Some of the wonder weapons on Tag tag are questionable to say the least. I fail to realize why we need different, worse variants of classic wonder weapons, like the Sniper Waff and the Tundra Gun. The 3 different power switches and moving Pack-a-Punch only adds unnecessary tediousness. Despite these smaller hiccups, the sheer amount of things to do on this map make for a ton of replayability. There's so many little things you can do to improve the quality of life while playing tag that are entirely optional, which are common qualities of all the best zombies maps. If by the end of Black Ops 4 the community hadn't already turned their back on the zombies mode, I think Tiger Totem would be considered one of the best maps of recent years. Number 10. Der Riese. Der Riese was the peak of what Modern Warfare had to offer, introducing Pack-a-Punch, and is one of the most classic zombies maps of all time. Der Riese to me is the absolute pinnacle of simple Call of Duty zombies. I can't imagine how Treyarch could ever make a better map that's this straightforward and uncomplicated. Der Riese couldn't have been laid out more perfectly. A main area with 3 branches that lead to different areas, each with a teleporter that leads back to spawn. Once all 3 teleporters have been used, Pack-a-Punch becomes open, which of course was the first time we'd ever even seen the machine. Der Riese was the first map to have mid-round dogs, making things a lot more difficult once you get past round 16. The map is arguably the most straightforward zombies map in existence. There's no gimmicks that get in the way of pure zombies killing. If you played World of War Zombies back in the day, it's impossible to not feel nostalgia towards this classic zombies map. Number 9. Buried. Buried is probably the easiest zombies map of all time, but offers no shortage of side Easter eggs and featured the most iconic Easter egg step of all time. Buried is one tier up the complexity scale of a map like Der Riese. Yes, there's a little bit more to do on a map like Buried, a somewhat complicated Easter egg, multiple ways to get free perks, multiple different cool tricks you can do with Leroy, and overall the map just feels a lot more filled out compared to the older maps. But on the other side of the coin, it's not like there's ever a pressure to go out of your way to do pretty much anything. It's a perfectly fine way to play the map to just drop down out of spawn and start spinning the box for a gun. The main complaint a lot of people have about Buried is that it's just way too easy. There's nothing really holding you back from just sitting with your back up against the wall, holding down the shoot button with the paralyzer. And that's before you factor in Vulture Raid and the subsurface resonator, only adding to just how little effort it takes to get to a high ground on this map. But even with the map being as unchallenging as it is, the positives far outweigh the negatives, and Buried easily makes its way into the top 10. Number 8. Dead of the Night. Dead of the Night leaves the player with the feeling of being isolated in a giant mansion, left alone to fend off waves of zombies, vampires, and werewolves. I can't speak enough on how underrated this map is. The setting of this beautiful zombies map is enough to really make me question the community for not appreciating it enough. The Alistair's Foley itself is fantastically underrated. It's the only gun in zombies that can be upgraded twice without Pack-a-Punch. People always get on Dead of the Night for being tedious or whatever, but I personally don't see it. The only thing that's a little bit questionable is this silver bullet buildable. For some reason, you have to build 2 separate items that require 3 parts each, and every single part has 3 separate spawn locations. I personally never struggle with remembering these locations, but I definitely do understand the counter argument that the effort is just not really worth the reward. The variety of different special zombies are a lot of fun, and some of the best we've ever seen in the game mode. The Easter egg is filled to the brim with puzzles, difficult lockdowns, and fun little scavenger hunts that keep me coming back time and time again. The Easter egg ends with a unique boss fight against a giant werewolf for some unknown reason, and this fight has a lot of unique mechanics that keeps things interesting. Dead of the Night failed not because of any gameplay reason or lack of content, but rather the failures of the launch of Black Ops 4, leading to lack of marketing for its first DLC. If you haven't played this amazing zombies map, just please go and do it. Number 7, Mauer der Toten. Mauer der Toten was the peak of what Cold War had to offer, and was the first map in Cold War to feel atmospherically dense. Mauer is my favorite zombies map to come out in the last couple of years. This map, unlike the rest of Cold War to me, actually feels like it has enough in it to make me keep coming back. The map is gorgeous, there's no denying that. The moonlit, rainy city is a perfect location for a zombies experience, with Mauer definitely bringing bringing out some classic Zombies maps vibes. I absolutely love the round switch music on this map. Their wonder weapon is extremely fun, although I still question why the different variants that you pick up are worse than the base version. The Easter egg is great, and using clouds for the various different steps make for some memorable moments, most notably the train step. The Easter egg ends with one of, if not my favorite boss fights in recent years. I think Treyarch really did a great job at making it just the right difficulty. The overall flow of the map layout is very good. It's mostly vertical. You start on the top of huge apartment buildings and make your way down to the street level, and then eventually all the way down to the underground area. It really was verticality done right, unlike the lowest rated map on this list, Die Rise. Overall, Mount Undercoat is a fantastic map, only held back by the main Cold War issue of not being able to differentiate the gameplay of Zombies to multiplayer. Number 6, Rise and Drop. Rise and Drop expanded on the 4 elemental weapons of Origins, but scaled back a lot on difficulty, making it appeal to a more casual audience. The detail on Rise and Drop is staggering. Everything about the atmosphere on this map just sucks you in. The map layout of Rise and Drop struck an absolute perfect balance between wide open areas and tight, narrow corridors, with the perfect amount of jump pads and teleporters to better navigate it. If I were judging purely by map layout, the only map in the history of Zombies that could even compete with DE is my number 1 spot on this list. The Easter egg steps are pretty good gameplay-wise, but where this map really shines is story. From Dr. Groff slowly realizing that Richtofen was no longer on his side, to shooting down Dempsey, to eventually blowing up the moon, mirroring the events of the classic Black Ops 1 map. The wonder weapons are of course fantastic. 4 separate quests to make 4 separate elemental wonder weapons obviously had been done before in Origins, but the Rise and Drop took that and made it less tedious and more forgiving for newer Zombies players. Each one has its own function, and which one is your favorite is probably completely dependent on the type of Zombies player that you are. Rise and Drop is a whole complete Zombies map, and the developers really put it all out there for us. There's a reason why Rise and Drop is probably the most chosen map when asking the community what their favorite Zombies map is. It is damn near perfect. Gorod Krovi. Gorod Krovi is just a flat-out badass Zombies map, with an extremely cool iteration of the ray gun, and one of, if not the best boss fight of all time. So after Rise and Drop came Zetsubo no Shima. Again, I touched on the fact that Zetsubo is undoubtedly a little overlooked when talking about quality of maps, but it definitely couldn't compare to the likes of DE. It started to seem like Treyarch had already revealed their best stuffs at the start of Black Ops 3 with their first 2 maps, and the end of Black Ops 3 was doomed to forever be inferior to the beginning. And then they dropped this masterpiece. I've said it before in this video, but I really think all of the best Zombies maps strike a perfect balance between simple and complex. And Gorod Krovi is no different. All the core features on this map, the wonder weapon, pack-a-punch, shield, and perks, are all easily accessible by all players. But the extra mechanics, the things like the gauntlet, the shield upgrade, the monkey bomb upgrade, require a lot more knowledge about the map and its inner workings. The Easter egg, without OP gobblegums, is hard. The 6 challenges, each are respectively difficult in their own regard for the average Zombies player, provides for a challenge, giving the Easter egg a ton of replayability as you try to learn and master it. Like I said, the boss fight or boss fights are fantastic and definitely has its own learning curve. At the end of the day, there's not much to complain about when talking about Gorod Krovi. It is pure, unadulterated, energy-inducing, badass Zombies. Ancient Evil. Ancient Evil is Treyarch's love letter to Greek mythology, with 4 unique wonder weapons, each with their ties to Greek gods, and some of the most unique Easter egg steps we've ever seen. The fact that this map isn't universally acclaimed to be one of the best creations to ever come out of Treyarch is truly a Greek tragedy. What I would give to make all the Black Ops 4 haters play this map for a few hours to actually get a feel for it. There's not many maps that can compare to Ancient Evil on looks alone, but on top of being aesthetically beautiful, Ancient Evil is absolutely filled to the brim with content. From 4 great wonder weapons,
Oh.
all with their own fun separate quests, to a zombie shield that's in an entire league of its own, to the Pegasus Strike, which is a special weapon that fills your grenade spot, that literally summons the mythical winged horse Pegasus to come in and fight by your side. There is a ton of things to do to keep busy while playing Ancient Evil. The Easter egg on this map is truly a masterpiece that can only be compared to the best of the best. I'll go out on a limb and say that if Ancient Evil was on a better game engine, it would be my favorite zombies map of all time, Mob of the Dead. Mob of the Dead's setting and layout alone is enough to make it one of the best maps of all time, but it is also complete with unique wonder weapons and a story so captivating it can even appeal to a non-zombies player. Mob of the Dead is all about story. It really was the first map that pushed you in the direction of solving a main quest. And Mob was able, when a lot of other zombies maps weren't, to flawlessly blend gameplay and story to be one whole piece of content. It's impossible to play Mob of the Dead and not fall in love with the four mobsters. The player wants to build a plane and escape the prison because the map was able to make us invested in the story of the four mobsters. Mob also has a ton of unlockable weapons as well. From the Blundergat, which I believe is the first wonder weapon you could ever unlock by doing a task, in this case finding the 5 hidden skulls around the map, to the Hell's Retriever and its Redeemer upgrade, to the Golden Sport. The atmosphere alone on Mob is enough to carry it to being one of the best zombies maps of all time, but the fact that it has so much going on for it gameplay-wise as well is why it will forever be one of the greats. Origins is really the origin, no pun intended, of modern zombies because it pushed the player through the map to find parts and solve complex puzzles in order to power yourself up in the game. There is so much to do on Origins. How much you decide to do in a given game is entirely up to you. Do you want to just get a gun from the box and pack a punch? You can do that. Do you want to get a staff and the G-strikes and get all the perks with a golden shovel? You can do that. Do you want to get all 4 staffs, the G-strike, the elemental punch while completing the Easter egg? I mean, it might take you an hour or two, but you can do that. Origins lets the player decide how much you want to do when getting set up and doesn't really punish you for not going the extra mile and unlocking everything. Origins gives you all these tools while keeping things balanced. Origins is not easy for new players. There's the Panzer Soldat, one of the most iconic bosses in Call of Duty Zombies. And yes, I still get flashbacks to hearing the Panzer horn for the first time on round 8 before getting absolutely rolled. There's the Mud, Robot Feet, and Templar zombies, all of which makes things a lot harder, but are an absolute must to secure the balance of this map. Whether you love it or hate it, there's no denying that Origins took the Call of Duty Zombies formula of the past and reconstructed it to be something much different. Almost every map after Origins was greatly influenced by the structure of it, so there's no doubt that Origins is one of, if not the most important zombies map ever made. Number 1, Shadows of Evil. Shadows of Evil is number 1 because it combines the immersive atmosphere and storytelling of Mob of the Dead with the highly quest-focused map Origins and offers the players ton of unique weaponry in the process. It puts elements of Lovecraftian horror into the jazzy 1940s Morgue City and somehow does this seamlessly. Shadows truly is a work of art through and through. To anyone who loves Call of Duty Zombies, it's obvious why it's ranked so high in everyone's tier list. Every inch of Morgue City is filled with love. It's not hard to see all the years of development that went into this perfect zombies map. So after all of that, this is my final tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.
Like, comment,
Ranking
season.
every Call of Duty.
Thanks for watching. Join season. Peace. Yes.